Watch this, y'all. This cave dweller moment comes to you from Indianapolis Metro Police Department. Stay tuned.
The officer initially accused an 18-year-old named Dalen Brewer of pointing a gun at the officer. That's a high crime, ladies and gentlemen. That is a high crime. But prosecutors dropped the charges against the 18-year-old after they say police body camera footage did not support the allegations. Now, Brewer is suing the city and the sergeant, Robin Frazier, the officer who fabricated the story. So let's be very clear. An officer fabricating a story means they committed a crime. It means that they falsified documents. They had to falsify the report. That also means they violated their oath of office. This is a felony status violation, in my opinion. They attempted to charge an 18-year-old kid with a felony that could ruin and wreck their lives forever. And the prosecutor says, well, we got to drop the charges because the story doesn't add up. Well, there's more than just the story doesn't add up. So according to court documents, the incident occurred on April 12th, 2026, as Brewer, the 18-year-old, was driving into Riverside Park on the northwest side of Indianapolis. Brewer was carrying lawfully possessed firearms inside his vehicle, lawfully possessed. When entering the park, Brewer drove past two Metropolitan Police vehicles parked at the entrance. Sergeant Frazier, now remember, sergeant means supervisor. Supervisor Frazier followed the teenager's vehicle to a parking space inside the park, approached the teenager's car, and opened the driver's side door. Okay, you can argue on the protocol of this interaction already without any charges ever being filed. It's already strange that you would be seemingly profiled if you've done nothing illegal. Your car being searched without proper premise, door being open. But there's more. The lawsuit states that when the supervisor, Sergeant Frazier, opened the door, her body-worn camera captured Brewer with his hands raised in the air. Although firearms were present on the vehicle floor and between his legs, Brewer kept his hands raised continuously. When Sergeant Frazier attempted to pull Brewer from the vehicle while it was still in gear, the car rolled slightly. Brewer attempted to put the vehicle into park, prompting Sergeant Frazier to draw her firearm and point it at Brewer and his front seat passenger.
So just imagine it. You see, you driving into a public domain. You see, you have access, and the cop, decides, I see two black men entering into the apartments. You see, they didn't do any crime that I can detect, but I just know something's up. You see, I gotta stop them. I gotta harass them. So the woman, she sees you have a weapon, on the seat between your legs. You see, the car is still in drive. He's thinking, well, maybe she just wants to question me. You see? But no, it's not that simple. She's not just asking you, simple questions, where you going? Not that you have to answer these questions, but, she has to escalate. You're a black man with a gun on the front seat, you see? Now, I don't know about you, but if I know there's a cop approaching, and I'm a black man, You see, I'm not going to have a gun sitting on my front seat. You see, that's just me. I don't know. Because I already know where it's going. I already know where it's going, man. I watch the news. You see, this woman right here, you got a gun on the front seat. It's about to get ugly. Even though you well within your rights, to have a weapon. But not as a black man, not in America, you see. So he attempts to put the car in park because she's yanking him out of the vehicle. He doesn't want the car to just take off. Common sense. But the she-devil says now, he pulled a gun on me because he moved his hands. Make it make sense, man.
While it was still in gear, the car rolled slightly. Brewer attempted to put the vehicle into park, prompting Sergeant Frazier to draw her firearm and point it at Brewer and his front seat passenger, who also had his hands up, according to the video. Brewer immediately stopped touching the vehicle controls and was arrested. You have an individual who is complying 100%. So following the arrest, the sergeant recommended multiple severe criminal charges, including level 1 felony attempted murder, resisting law enforcement, intimidation, and pointing a loaded firearm. In a sworn probable cause affidavit, this means you attest and swear to these statements under penalty of perjury. That's what that means. So in this affidavit submitted under penalty of perjury, Sergeant Frazier claimed Brewer pointed a revolver directly at her. Quote, while Sergeant Frazier began visually scanning the vehicle, the driver, identified as Dallin Brewer, appeared to be pointing a revolver towards Sergeant Frazier at the door panel. Sergeant Frazier saw the barrel end of the revolver pointed in her direction. Brewer raised the revolver, then dropped the gun and raised both hands.
So these people don't understand. They can't really understand, like, why are we so defensive? Why we always go from 0 to 100 real quick. They don't understand, like, we see this stuff happening every day, man, to the same people, to the same group of people on a daily basis. You see? So when it's our turn, and they pull us over unlawfully, you see, doing illegal searches on our vehicle, they can't understand why we so upset. We're upset because we understand. We understand that this is going on too long. You see, this is happening far too often. You see, in our community, to the same people. That's why we're upset. That's why we don't automatically always want to, hand over our ID. You see, we don't always want to answer your dumb questions. Where are you going? Where are you coming from? You see? But they can't seem to comprehend. Like, you guys are foul, man. You guys are evil. You see black skin and automatically you feel like I gotta harass these people. They got to be up to no good. You see, the brother is legal. He's legal to carry. That should have been the end of it. You see, but you decide I'm gonna lie on a statement. I'm a supervisor. I'm gonna lie on this statement and ruin this 18-year-old kid's life, man. So this brother ended up having to do some time in jail because, he couldn't bail out due to the seriousness of the crime. Pointing a gun at a police officer, which was false. So look, if we can't even trust the supervisor on the scene, you see, when it comes to our rights, when it comes to our life, even. You see, because this brother, they dropped all the charges. The prosecutor had to drop the charges. You see, normally when your lawyer goes to look at the evidence, or the prosecutor goes to look at the body cam video, these cave beasts, they normally say, well, the camera wasn't on or it wasn't working. You see what I'm saying? Look at the smile on this cave beast's face, man. Straight level 7 demon. That's what she is. So now they have to go back and look at all the cases, this woman was involved in. Because as the brother stated, this ain't the first time. This can't be the first time she's profiled a brother, and had him locked up. You see? So they got to go back and look at all the cases that this woman, she's a sergeant, so she's been on the force for a long time, man. You see? See what we deal with? They hunt our steps, man. They hunt our steps. We can't even go in the streets. You see? So they put a case on this brother. They dropped the charges, at the state level. But if this brother ever goes for a job, where they do a federal background check, guess what? He's still going to have that on his case, man. That he pulled a weapon on an officer. You see? Because after they put that case on you, they don't go the extra mile, to clean up your federal background. They don't do that. You see, those charges are still on your federal background. So now he can't hold a weapon until he gets all that stuff cleared. You see, these devils, they know what they doing, man. So now you can't legally carry a weapon until you get that stuff, cleared off your federal FBI background check. These demons know what the hell they doing. But this brother here, he's suing them, So I hope this brother, I hope he gets paid, man. I hope he gets what he deserves, financially. You see, now, and do the right thing, man. Go to school with the money, get a trade, whatever you want. Invest the money, whatever you can do, man, to make your life and your family's life better, man. You see, so this even though this brother went through some trials and tribulations, there's a silver lining, man, because it could have went south real quick. She could have shot and killed this brother. 18 years old, man. But yeah, we got to be more mindful, around these cave beasts. These clan members in with a badge and a gun. You see, because that's what they are. They're clan members. You see, so that was a perfect excuse for her to unalive this brother. You got a weapon on your seat. You see the cop approaching. Man, store the gun safely, man. You don't have to hide the weapon, but store it safely, on your dashboard or whatever you got to do before she gets to the vehicle, before she gets to your door. You see, we gotta use common sense, even more so when you own a weapon. Black people with a gun, that is their worst nightmare. You see, you might think you legal to carry, but they don't see it that way. You see. So what y'all think about it, man? What should this officer face? Should she get some jail time for that? I believe so, man. She should lose her badge. She should lose all her credentials, her licensing. Everything gotta go. And do some prison time for that.